It's Sunday and I don't have to go to school tomorrow. Best show ever! Sorry, my cat's with me and I just scared her from yelling.
Oh, poor kitty.
Sorry, Marla. Happy Sunday, everybody. And as you can see, we have super special guests with us today. Tammy and Jim are Gen-Xperts. We haven't had you guys on in a while, so it's good to have you back.
It's definitely good to be back. Glad we're getting in this rotation. You know, the memory is starting to fade. The 80s are getting farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. So I'm glad we're here while we still got some recollection.
It's good. That's what we're trying to capture these things right now while we still can. So I get that. So, here we are. It's a Sunday. It is the Sunday before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everyone and Happy Holidays. If you're not into Christmas, but you're celebrating some other holiday. So we happen to be a bunch of Christmas people over here. So Merry Christmas. And so good. So Ann, tell us about what's on your head right now, would you?
Well, this is my festive Christmas headband that I created. And it's kind of a Bumble-like character. And then, little pine trees. And then he has a little box. And Duncan's like, hey, what's in his box? And I was like, dig in a box, baby. So it's kind of strategically, I put it there so it helps balance him so he doesn't like tip too far or too back. But yeah, he was kind of like, bing.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's got the dick in a box thing going. And for those of you that don't, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you just need to go to YouTube and type in Dick in a Box and you'll have 3 of the best minutes of your entire life. Honest to God. 3 of the best minutes ever.
Yeah. So this is my Christmas celebration headband. I'm going to wear this to work tomorrow for the next couple days for work. So,
Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. And Tammy, would you mind telling us a little bit about your sweater?
I have 3 cows celebrating the holidays. Full of glitter and sunglasses.
And they are sparkly.
Merry Christmas moose.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, no, I didn't pick that up earlier. Yep,
I totally
nicely done. Nicely done. Jim, you're a Christmas hero now. Christmas hero. So there you go.
Man, well, I didn't rock any Christmas gear, so I had to come with the jokes.
There you go.
That's okay. That's good enough. So here we are. Like I said, the Sunday before Christmas, we have just happy solstice to everybody. We are now on the other side. So let us start getting lighter, more light, please and thank you.
Oh, please.
We're having an especially cloudy. I live on the west side of Michigan, which means we get a lot of the lake effect cloud cover. And so it hasn't been super snowy or super cold this winter, but it has been so cloudy. Like we went over to the other side of the state and we actually saw the sun yesterday. It was nice.
Yeah, we had a really beautiful, it was cold today, but the sun was out all day. It was really, Duncan's like, if you stand in the sun outside, it's not too bad.
Yeah, we as soon as we crossed over Marshall, it was all clouds again. It's been cloudy all afternoon. We're supposed to get ice tomorrow, so that'll be fun. But I don't care because I don't have to go anywhere tomorrow.
I was gonna say,
That's
you don't
right.
have to go to school. Woohoo!
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So, hey, should we get this party started? We are here to talk about the Mount Rushmore of since Jim and Tammy are our Gen-Xperts. We rely on their memory and their knowledge of the Gen X lifestyle. And today we're talking about awesome 80s dramas because you go through the 80s and the 80s was sort of this pinnacle of certain things. The sitcom was one of those. And I feel like the 80s drama as well was one of those things that the 80s just really captured really well. So that's what we're talking about today. We are doing our Mount Rushmore of hour-long 80s dramas. And there's a bunch of good ones on this list. This one was hard. It took a long time to get together. But before we do that, Anne, would you like to get us going with our awesome synopsis?
I would be happy to, Jenny Brothers. So we are. Hey, look at that! Look at that!
Look at how young they are. Wow.
That might have been from the 80s.
What are you talking about? You guys are still adorable. Come on now.
Oh.
Exactly. So we are Ann and Janice Brothers. Our last name is Brothers. We are sisters. And yes, we would love to be part of your family. So it's, another family holiday.
Our families get pretty small.
Yeah.
Yes. So
we need more of you.
Yeah, we do.
We're in our 50s, Gen X, which means when we were growing up, the adults in our lives called animated features cartoons and graphic novels were called comic books. So,
Yes.
it was now they're much more legitimate media, but then it was kind of like, kids
It
stuff.
was
So
it was trashy kid stuff.
trashy.
Yeah.
I mean, still like $1 million industry, but kids stuff. So yes, we talk about smart stuff, dumb stuff, fun stuff, or any combination of the three. And we are not cool, hip, or sexy, and we know this because we talk to our cats like they are people. Mm-hmm.
Yes. All the
Yes,
time.
all
And
the
my
time.
husband makes fun of me for doing that. But he does it too. Yeah. Oh, it
We're
looks like we just lost Jim and Tammy.
Oh, well, hopefully they'll be back soon. I'll
That's
finish my
okay.
spiel and maybe they'll be back. We're
Okay.
not a celebrity influencer or true crime podcast. We are the appetizer sampler of the podcast. We are cheesy fried deliciousness,
We're
and you'll
back.
love all of us. Yay!
Uh yes, and I'm going to speak to that a little bit about the
Mhm,
appetizer sampler.
mhm,
I have a public service announcement for all places that serve appetizer samplers that you should also include a dessert sampler.
mhm.
Um, I'm tired of having to order 3 or 4 full-size desserts in order to get what I need out of my dessert when all I really want is a dessert sampler. So
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
Genius idea.
Missed
Thank you.
opportunity. Missed
Yes,
opportunity. You can have a flight of anything. Why not have a flight of dessert?
of desserts.
Ooh.
Now, I was reading yesterday how Chili's is making a comeback. They're now winning the restaurant wars, and I get it because they're amazing. But I also feel like Chili's, I'm talking to you, if you're going to
Mhm.
be the winner of the restaurant wars, if you want to keep winning, it means it's time for you to come up with a dessert sampler. You're welcome.
Exactly.
Yes. So,
Exactly.
all right. I'm done with my public service announcement.
Okay. So we are great to listen to when you want to learn things about stuff or you missed us so much last week and you're trying to get your fix back in. So here we are. We're back live, no reruns, or what do they call them nowadays? Encore presentations.
Encore presentations.
Mhm. It's us live. You're welcome. This
Yes.
podcast is not GPG or even PG-13 because it's almost Christmas, bitches.
Watch out.
Join us on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Like us, follow us, smash the bell or whatever, and leave us
Smash
a
it.
review. Smash it. Give
Smash
us
it.
your feedback with our questions and answers and our polls. And you can ask Alexa to play us, and that bitch is going to do it.
She still does what we tell her to do. She isn't self-aware yet. So that's good news for us.
Yeah, at least
That's
she
good
hasn't
news.
rebelled yet. So thanks,
Yes.
Alexa. We love you.
Thank you, Alexa. We do indeed. So yes. When she rebels though, I hope because I say please and thank you that maybe she'll give me a little bit of a break. I don't know.
Maybe. Or maybe she'll know
I
we're
hope so.
weak and kill us first.
Oh, that's probably what'll happen. So, well, that's fine.
Anyway.
All right. Anyway, that's okay. All right. So yes, remember you guys, if you want to support us, you can do it for absolutely free. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to give us any money. All you have to do is like, subscribe, smash that bell, and then share it with your people. Tell people to do the same thing because the more, the more people do that, the better it is for us. So we want to quit our day jobs and we'd rather do this. So help us out, would you? Okay, good. It's not like a GoFundMe where you have to give cash. Just give likes. That's all. You can do that. Yay. It is. You'll feel better too, because there's like a Harvard study that says when you do nice things, you feel better. This is a way that you can feel better for absolutely free. Yay. I love that.
So
Yeah.
you're
Good.
welcome.
You're welcome. So, yes. All right. And we're going to start with you. We're going to talk about all the smart, dumb, fun stuff that happened to us this week. And let's you and I go first, and then we'll come back to Jim and Tammy and get their smart, dumb, fun stuff that happened this week. Okay.
Okay. So
all right. Good. You go first.
My thing was a smart thing. I finished the book, The Eight-Legged Wonders, The Surprising Lives of Spiders by James O. Hanlon. And it was a great book. I picked this up the last time I was in Marquette at the Snowbound bookstore. And
bookstore.
Oh yeah, I like spiders. I find them very amusing. And this guy is from New Zealand, where they have some epic fucking spiders. I got to tell you, and it was just fascinating. My favorite parts were on. He talks about how they're trying to use spider silk in different industries, and then he also talks about how spiders travel. Especially little spiders or baby spiders, how they travel. What we used to think was on the breeze, they're actually using like they're actually using like you know how you have the electromagnets, they're kind of like using that. They're charged one way, the earth is charged another way, and they're using that to push them off the surface of the earth and then float through the atmosphere. They've found spiders at 40,000 feet in the air.
What the
I
fuck are
know.
you talking about?
I know, right? So this book was wonderful. And I was hoping it would
Wow.
have pictures. It really didn't. But what it was making me do was every time I was reading about a spider, I was getting out my phone, looking up spiders, looking up pictures of them, learning more stuff. And then I was on Google News and they were talking about the oldest recorded spider, who she lived for 46 years. And she was in Australia. It was kind of a trapdoor spider that they had been monitoring for 46 years. And I had read about her in this book. And then I was like, and then they had her on Google News. And I was like, she was spider number 17, 16 or 17. I think it was 17. Anyway, so this is a great book. So if you are anti-spider, I would recommend this book because it really it gives you a chance to like really understand these animals. And if you like spiders, definitely get this book because it was awesome. And I just really, I was like, I couldn't wait to pick it up and start reading again. I mean, it was just, it's well written. The guy is funny. The spiders are awesome. And it really dispels a lot of myths, trying to figure out why so many people are like freaked out by spiders. But it was great and I loved it. So that was the smart thing. I finished it last week and I wanted to talk about it. So there you go.
Nicely done. And you've just proved again that you are not hip, cool, or sexy because you're actually using your phone to do things like look up stuff that makes you smarter. Nope, you are no. So good job being smart. Great job not being hip, cool, or sexy because
Yeah,
your phone
exactly.
is actually a tool for knowledge, not for death scrolling or for evil. So yay, good job.
Look at me, dull.
Well, Anne, I'm going to do the opposite of smart, dumb, fun, or smart stuff. I'm going to do dumb stuff because I was super excited because for the first time ever, college football has its own like playoff system. It's a 12-team playoff, kind of like March Madness, but this was going to be December Madness, and I was super jazzed about it. And the first weekend has sucked so bad that I can't even believe it. So the first four games were played this. Oh my God, it sucked so bad. So yeah, every game was a complete and total blowout, and it was ridiculous. And oh look, we got the Bunny Yard story time with Susie is with us. Dudes, it's Susie Nelson. Susie, what are you doing? She says, the Bunny Yard story time says, dudes. Dude back, Susie.
Right, back,
yes,
back.
that's right. That's right, Susie. I'm talking sporting time because, you know, at least one other listener that we have of our 40 listeners, at least one of them likes sports. So that's my job. Anne's job is to bring the smart. My job is to bring the sport thing. Okay.
Yes. Sport.
Yes. Susie says men with balls on fields. I'm like, dude, what else do you need? Okay.
Lots of balls hitting you in the face, balls getting hit with other balls, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Tammy, I was going to tell you how sorry I was about your quarterback today. So,
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, sorry.
Ouch.
You knew I had to say something. Tammy and I are in the same fantasy football league, and we were going head to head today, and we're in the losers bracket. Yeah, do we actually get a consolation prize? Do we actually get anything for that? I don't think we do.
I think you just got it.
Yeah.
I think you just got it.
You're welcome. It's been my whole year. Every week. Christian McCaffrey, week 1. I mean, just every single week I had a player go
Yeah,
out.
cursed. Yeah. So you're like the Detroit Lions this year. Every week you have a new and terrible injuries. Tammy's starting quarterback ended up injured today, and then her quarterback that was on the bench ended up with like 22 fantasy points, which is very solid for a quarterback, especially a quarterback as bad as him. So
yeah. Thanks for that reminder. Appreciate it.
Oh boy.
Yep. So anyway, all right. So Tammy, with that said, why don't you give us something smart, dumb, fun that happened to you this week?
Okay. Well, I think Jim's going to take fun, so I will go with smart.
Okay, hit me.
We finalized our will. Got all that in line. Our financial pictures all up in line. So the kids
Fantastic.
just have to call. Kids just have to call our advisor and say, "Okay, what do we do now?" And
nice. I love that.
Yes.
That was extremely smart and good on you.
Smart.
Yes.
And your nephew, Jake Peters, said, "Does she know I get the Yahtzee cup?"
Oh yeah.
Oh,
you know what cup I'm talking about.
I know exactly which cup you're talking about. That is a family heirloom.
It
so
is.
It is.
It is one of the more priceless pieces.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's going to represent that cup very well. So yeah.
He'll tell you he will. He thinks he's the greatest Yahtzee player of all time.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you possibly be the greatest Yahtzee player of all time?
Well,
it's fucking Yahtzee.
The way to do it, it's Jake.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
Isn't he the one the first time he played, the very first roll he ever made, he rolled a Yahtzee?
That wouldn't surprise me.
I think it was Jeremy, actually.
That might have been Jeremy.
Okay. Yeah, and then he's like, "Hey, why is this game hard?" You know?
Is that good? Is that good?
Exactly.
Sorry.
Forget it. She's wrong.
Susie says, "Careful that those kids don't take you out now." I'm like,
"Oh, you ain't lying. They're already plotting and scheming.
They've already put their names.
They're hiding around the corner. That's all right. We have terms built into the contract.
Lay down.
Nice. That's smart. But a trust. There we go.
That's
right. All right. Well done, you guys. Yeah, that's we actually did a show on that last year. We had our family lawyer on, and she talked about the importance of those things of estate planning, and it's a big deal. Don't sleep on that. So well done.
The last will we had, Jeff and Judy were getting the boys, so I think we're past that now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jeff and Judy don't want them boys anymore.
I was going to say, if you want to go back in our archives and listen to our interview with Kristen Britt, in case you're like, oh, I don't know what to do about getting a will, listen to that show, and it will give you some excellent places to start.
Yeah, so we did all that this week. So
good.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Yay. So, all right. So Jim, what's your fun thing then?
Oh, I had so much fun last week. I got to go with 4 buddies to Costa Rica on a fishing trip.
Nice.
And literally saw one of these buddies pull in a big old mahi-mahi, and they filleted it up, and we ate it for dinner that night. So it was
sweet,
glorious. And then quick, kind of scary thing that ended up great is on the flight home, a poor lady in her mid-50s or so literally fainted in the row right in front of me, just dropped. And it was not great. But by the end of the flight, she had come around. She was doing great. But it was a very scary and surreal moment.
Isn't that weird when something like that happens? It is. I've had a few things like that happen, and it just, you're like, is this happening? What the fuck just happened? Is this happening?
It was inspiring too, because lots of people jumped into action, and this lady was well cared for in a big hurry, and she was a tough one. So I was glad to see that she was doing well at the end of it.
Good.
Yeah, amen to that. Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, well, good. Did you bring back any coffee?
No, but had good coffee, and then the stunner of the whole deal was Imperial and Imperial Light beer from Costa Rica is magnificent. If you get a chance, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Costa Rican beer. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk?
Good Costa Rican beer. Isn't that weird?
It is. I would not have thunk. So there you go.
Peter's drinking a beer. That's shocking.
What? I can't believe that. No, what?
That's the first time for everything.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay.
I know, right?
So hilarious. All right. So here we are. We are 20 minutes into the show. Let's get this party started with our Mount Rushmore of 80s dramas, and a very Merry Christmas to you as well. So very good.
Stay sexy.
All right. So Tammy, we're gonna fire things up with you. So I'm gonna take this out for now, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring up my banners, and I'm gonna start with Tammy's banners. All right, Tammy, we're gonna start with your number 4. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So this is our Tammy's Mount Rushmore of 80s dramas. The criteria for this, real quick, is that they had to be a drama. We're preferring that, and they would be like an hour-long drama rather than a comedy, and that really is not a big deal because almost everything that came out of the 80s was pretty much an hour-long drama. I don't recall there being really any hour-long comedies per se. There was stuff that was less dramatic than others, but there you go. All right, Tammy, here we go. Your number 4. Here it is.
Fantasy Island.
Nice.
Now, most of my picks came out in around the beginning of the 80s. It's sort of when I was still watching evening TV. After 1985, I was in school, either working or partying, doing bad things. But anyway.
Again, this is some shocking revelations.
I know. Anyway, so Fantasy Island, we have Mr. Work, who is a godlike figure and gives his guests their fantasy. They go on vacation to get what they want. They go home with what they needed. His little sidekick, Tattoo. We all remember Tattoo, Hervé Villachez. Is that how we say his name? The plane.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers him. So it had several guest stars similar to the Love Boat. They circulated a bunch of stars that played all these different stories. And a little fun fact about Fantasyland, obviously it's an Aaron Spelling production. He purposefully made the segments either, most of the time there was only 2 stories going in each segment, so he can divide them up in half-hour episodes for resyndication. Then he made more money that way. If that makes any sense.
Genius.
Smart.
Isn't that
That's
smart?
so smart.
Long, but we usually had 2 different stories. And when they went into repeats, they broke them into 30-minute segments.
How about that?
Yeah. So
more syndication.
Yeah. 7
Nice.
primetime Emmys. And it started out as 2 made-for-TV movies that everybody loved. And so they turned it into a drama series that we all know and love now. Yeah.
Wow. We do indeed. Yeah. We didn't get to watch it because it was on late and it was not a Cynthia Brothers approved show. So that was what you got to watch when you went babysitting on a Friday night. So, yeah.
Yeah. There was an interview that Ricardo Montalban, who played Mr. Work, someone asked him, what was your inspiration for Mr. Work? And he said he pictured himself as a fallen angel. Trying to teach lessons.
Like that.
Yes. Teaching lessons to those who came to his island, which I think we got that for sure.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Number 3. Here we go.
Yeah. Dallas.
Yep. 100%.
Dallas gave us so much. We got, of course, JR, who was the most ruthless villain in all of TV. I think he ran the oil business. This is a family of oil barons, all fighting for control. Larry Hagman, who before this, we knew him as Major Tony Nelson from I Dream of Jeannie. This was his second sort of run at fame playing JR, and he did it excellent. He was ruthless, scheming. His arch enemy is Cliff Barnes. His wife, Sue Ellen, played by Linda Gray. Little brother, Bobby Ewing, married Cliff Barnes' sister. So we got that going for us, a little Romeo and Juliet.
Tense.
Let's see what else do I have. We have Lucy Ewing, who was the daughter of the ousted brother, Gary, who we're going to get to later.
This is like pre-Succession.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
We're
Yes.
going to get to Gary. We'll get to Gary in a little bit because he's important too to the story. It was nominated. It won 4 Primetime Emmy Awards, but was nominated for a total of 21. The theme song's been voted best of all time, and of course, it created 2 of the most talked about storylines. Yeah, I'm sure you guys can at least guess one.
Oh, I can tell you both of them.
JR.
Yeah,
Who Shot JR, and the other one
and it was a dream. A whole season was
the death of Bobby Ewing, the dream scene. Yes,
it was a dream.
Yes,
the whole season. Bobby dies, and then it ends up all being a dream. And then the fun fact that I found, Barbara Eden, as we all know, played Jeannie. She came in the very last season for a 5-episode arc. Of course, she's one of the many who's trying to bring JR down. And at the end of her arc, we find out her surname or her maiden name is Nelson. And it was homage to I Dream of Jeannie because we have Larry Hagman and Barbara Eden. And they did that intentionally, which I thought was a cute little sidebar about that.
Yes.
But anyway, so Dallas,
Yep. So Susie Nelson, he was in the shower.
He's in the shower.
That's right. In the shower.
Susie, do you remember who shot him? Does she
remember who shot Susie Nelson, do you remember who shot JR?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. He was in the shower with a candlestick.
I know.
Susie says your mom.
Yeah. No. No.
Well said. It was Christy.
Kristen.
It was Kristen.
Sue
That's
Ellen's
right.
Sister. Yep. Sue Ellen's sister.
Yep.
Who's having an affair with him. Anyway.
For crying out loud. The fact that I even know, even remotely says something about my brain. Anyway, let's go to your number 2. I just said number 2.
Dynasty.
Okay. All right, there it is. Yep.
Dynasty. So I started watching this when I was sick with my mom. Little girl, I was young, 8, 9 years old, and she turned it on. It was the very first episode. And let's start with the fact it took place in Denver, which is where we all grew up. And so that intrigued me. I'm like, wow, my city's on a national show. That's awesome. And the next thing I hear is the voice of Charlie from Charlie's Angels. So that hooked me right there. So John Forsythe.
That's right. John Forsythe.
John
That's
Forsythe
right.
played Blake Carrington, the main character. And similar to Dallas, it featured 2 feuding oil-rich families, the Carringtons and the Colbys. Takes place in Denver, Colorado. Excuse me. It was nominated for 24 Emmys. I don't believe they won any. I couldn't find where they won any. Again, another Aaron Spelling special. The women with their power suits and shoulder pads started a 80s fashion trend that we all know and love today.
Yes.
It gave us it reestablished careers for people like John Forsythe, who did play Blake Carrington, who, as we all know, was Charlie from Charlie's Angels. Just the voice, though. We didn't know what he looked like. Crystal Carrington was played by Linda Evans, who used to, I want to say, was on Bonanza at one point. And then Alexis Carrington was played by Joan Collins, who had a career in the 60s and 70s. And of course, how can we forget Heather Locklear? Introduced us to Heather Locklear, played Sammy Jo.
We can never forget Heather Locklear.
And at one point, she was on Dynasty and TJ Hooker at the same time.
Doubling it up.
Drama.
Girl, go get that money. Yep.
Right.
Short window of hotness. Make as much money as you can.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, you have. Yeah. What is it? You're only fuckable for so long if you're a woman in Hollywood. So
So get it. So get paid, girl. Get paid.
Get paid because your last fuckable day is coming. So there we go.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Susie says she was 12. You were 12 when what? When you were watching Dynasty? When you were watching Dallas? When you were watching all of them? I don't know.
I was pretty young. My mom was pretty liberal with TV, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Our mother was not.
Our mother was not.
Yeah.
And look how we turned out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then
all right, and your number 1.
Knots Landing.
There it is.
This is where Gary comes in. Gary was JR's younger brother, who was sort of the black sheep of the family. But his parents tried to pull him back into the business, but JR was not having it. So he got ousted. And he and his young bride had, obviously, as we know, Lucy. They end up divorcing, getting back together, and moving to California to Knots Landing, where they moved to a cul-de-sac with 4 of the families, and that's where we get that drama from there.
Okay.
Nominated for 4 Emmys, won 1. The show actually was pitched before Dallas, but those that be did not like it. And so then they presented Dallas, and that's the show that got produced. And through the success of Dallas, the network executives asked them for a spin-off. They just dusted off the script and handed them Knots Landing, and they're like, okay, let's go for it. Knots Landing ended up outlasting Dallas, Dynasty, and all Falcon Crest, all those shows that were that soap opera theme. Knots Landing had the longest run. It beat Dallas by a couple shows, I think, but it went on for the longest. This one's the reason this is my number 1 is I remember just gathering with all my friends every single night it was on. We were all in someone's dorm room, someone's apartment watching the show. It was appointment TV at its finest. Back in the day. Yes. So Gary, so an interesting fact about Bobby's death, how it associates with Knots Landing, but Gary actually gets a call. Bobby has died. But when they decided to make it all a dream, Knots Landing basically abandoned Dallas and no longer did any more shows that brought them together. They just, because how do you explain that? Like, it's totally different. They couldn't explain it. It was too confusing. They're like, you know what? We're not going to do any more relatable shows to Dallas. Gave us some uprising stars. Here's some stars it gave us. Nicolette Sheridan. Remember Nicolette Sheridan?
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Gave us Lisa Hartman. I
don't know who that is.
She's married now to Clint Black. She played Cece. And Kathy, I think she played 2 characters because they killed her off too soon and the fans complained, so they brought her back. And last but not least, Alec Baldwin.
Oh no!
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's when he was at his hottest. That's when he was at the height of his hot powers.
Hot and young.
This is right before he did the big Hollywood movies. He was on Knots Landing. Played
crazy. That was Springboard.
Colleen's brother or something.
He was our first George Clooney.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was a striking man at the height of his
Striking.
powers.
Yeah.
Striking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Reel back in.
Yeah.
Reel back in.
Easy, ladies.
Come
Easy
on,
now.
back down.
Easy now.
All right.
Sorry,
Mm.
back. All right, yes. All right, so Jim, are you ready to give us your
I'm ready to
Mount
go.
Rushmores? Okay, here we
I'm
go.
ready to
All
go. I
right,
can't
so let's
compete with
start you.
Tammy. Can't compete with her, but I'm gonna try.
Well, that's right, because like I said, I felt like we knew that what we were getting with Tammy, who would be our most expert, and you have not disappointed, Tammy. Well done.
Yes. Nice job,
All
Tammy.
right,
Very well done.
Jim, what we got? Your number 4. It's on the board.
Number 4 for me was Moonlighting. Probably not on everybody's list, but I really enjoyed this show. The star power was off the chain, although we didn't really know it at the time because Bruce Willis was very new. As I think this show started in 85 to 89 was its run. Here's a kind of a funny story for Moonlighting. So his Die Hard franchise started to take off during the run of this show. And I believe it was the second season, although it may have been the first. They show Bruce Willis's character walking down the street past a movie store where there's a poster of Die Hard. So I think that's really cool. But I just thought that this show was it was kind of sassy. It was well written. It was well acted. Those two were super flirty. And I just thought the characters were incredible. I really enjoyed that show.
Nicely done. Yeah, that was that made my honorable mentions list. I really, I didn't watch that show a ton, but I felt like that was one of those shows that was sort of in the zeitgeist as far as like people talking about it and the will they won't they sort of thing
Right?
that
Yes.
yeah. So and that became a real big deal for that. So yes, indeed, well done. All right, so we've got commentary. Let's see, we have got Susie making more commentary. Ease up. Not a chance, Susie. Not a chance. Okay. All right. So let's go to your number 3. Let's go.
Number 3, Magnum PI. Man, I love this show. I thought Tom Selleck was about as cool as they get. The car, of course. I mean, come on. The car. So this show ran from 1980 to 1988, 158 episodes. Hi, Lori.
Lori Worrell.
So the main characters, Magnum, Higgins, TC, and Rick, all 4 of them were in all 158 episodes. So super consistent with those 4. I loved Magnum's character's love of the Detroit Tigers. I'm not personally a Tigers fan, but I just think it was super ironic. He's there in Hawaii, but he loves his Tigers. He's always rocking his Tigers hat. Very cool, I thought. And then one thing I learned a little bit as I prepped for this show was if we can all remember back to the early 80s, Vietnam was still kind of a tough subject, a very tough subject. And those 4 actors, the 3, not including Higgins, but the other 3 were among TV's first very positive portrayals of Vietnam vets. And they received some recognition for that. I think, well, deservedly so. But fun show, well done. Scenery was great. Acting was great. Funny, but yet exciting. All of that. I love me some Magnum.
Definitely. And again, that was on my honorable mention list and very close to being on my Mount Rushmore. Very close. And again, for me,
from Michigan? Isn't Tom Selleck from Michigan?
Is he?
I don't know. He might be.
I don't know.
Now I have to look it up.
I was going to say, I thought you
Selleck.
Michigan girls would know.
Yeah.
Well, my aunt, I think he was because my Aunt Julie was a huge fan of that
Loved
show.
him. Yes.
And I think one of the reasons was because he was from Michigan.
He was born January 29th, 1945 in Detroit, Michigan. So
well,
let's
there you go.
There's the tiger.
Nice.
Now you know.
There it is. There it is.
You gotta love
it.
Yep.
Indeed. All right, number 2. There it is.
Number 2. Now, Tammy mentioned that her shows where she and her friends would get together. If ever there's a show in the 80s where the dudes got together, it was Friday nights, Miami Vice, the threads, the pastels, the music, just the oozing cool
Yes.
of Crockett and Tubbs.
Male shoulder pads.
When they were male shoulder pads. Yep. Interesting fun fact on Miami Vice was after the second season, Don Johnson was ready to book. He was done. He wanted to do some other things, and the director's like, nope. They made him the highest paid TV actor at the time in order to keep him.
Wow.
What'd they pay him? Do you know how much they paid him?
No, I didn't say how much they paid him, but they kept him around till 89. Cool run.
Well,
fun show. Man, the music, just so awesome.
I'm hearing it in my head right now.
Yep.
Me too.
Totally.
Harold Faltermeyer, In the Air Tonight was prominent in that show. Just so many cool
Eagles,
tunes.
Glenn Fry,
Yes.
his music wall is all over that show as well.
Goodness
Yeah.
gracious, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Smuggler's Blues.
So, Smuggler's Blues.
Gotta love it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. And your number one show?
My number one is Hill Street, probably on some other lists as well. You just can't. It's hard to argue, right? What a run. I wrote down some stats. So this show won 26 primetime Emmys. They were nominated for 98. Here's a 4-year run. 1981, 8 wins, 21 nominations. 82, 6 wins, 21 nominations. 83, 6 wins, 17, and 5 wins, and 18 and 84. I mean,
Wow.
Same cast. Like, there were 10 main characters on this show, and they had 144 episodes. All 10 of those characters were in every single one of the shows. So they were consistent, terrific writing, dramatic, good cops, like awesome cop show. Loved it.
Yeah, agreed. Just 100%. So, yeah, and I feel like it was the start of like the hot cop shows, you know, where, you know, like there's so many hot cop shows now today.
Yep.
Yeah. And this was like the first one. I mean, yeah, there were some shows in the 70s that were pretty good, but I feel like this one really opened the door for a lot of other, especially shows from the 90s. So yeah, I would agree that this one absolutely belongs on that Mount Rushmore. Laura Worrell says 21 Jump Street. Girl, you read my mind.
Terrific.
I was gonna say that
put
made
that on my list. I changed my
Terrific.
mind.
yeah, that made my
Johnny
runner-up
Depp.
list.
Yeah.
As did
Well,
mine.
Johnny
so.
Depp doesn't hurt anybody. Young Johnny Depp.
No. Young Johnny Depp, indeed. All right. Are we ready for my list?
Yes, Jenny
Yes,
Brothers.
Let's do this. I can't wait to see it.
Okay. All right. So hang on. I gotta get to my banners here. My Jims. Now I gotta get to Jen's. Okay, we're gonna go with my number 4. And my number 4, I was right there with you, Jim, was Miami Vice. Again, I really feel like things changed after Miami Vice. It was gritty. It was violent, more so even than things like Hill Street Blues were violent. It introduced us to Miami. I mean, how many people really thought or had any knowledge of Miami? And granted, it's TV Miami, but it was still, I'm like, man, Miami looks fun, you know,
So cool.
and
Cool.
dangerous. And, you know, it kind of changed how we view cops, you know, like, you know, cops can be cool and wear awesome linen suits and have these, you know, awesome cars and, you know, speedboats and, you know, had lives like outside that. And it just, you know, and again, I just remember I was an 8th grader when this show came out, and I was like, I really liked Don Johnson. I liked him a lot. And I'm like, why do I like him? I don't understand, you know? But, and again, that was one of those shows. Yes. And again, that was one of those shows that we didn't really get to watch because it was violent and it was on late. So that was a show that I got to watch more because I started babysitting. And then once I got to high school, Mom kind of eased off on a lot of that stuff. So I got to watch it more once I was in high school, which was really nice. So I liked that. All right. My next show on the list, I got to go Dallas. Not that I watched a lot of Dallas. It's just that I can remember as a 3rd grader, Dallas really was part of that. It became part of that whole social consciousness. I can remember as a third grader being huddled up on the playground with all the other third graders, and we were talking about Dallas and who shot JR, and like half of us weren't allowed to watch Dallas and the other half were kind of allowed to watch Dallas, and Angel Blau was allowed to watch Dallas and followed it very carefully, and she had lists of who was who and who she thought it was and the evidence that she presented, and so that we're like, yeah, Angel's right, or no, Angel's not right, or yeah. So anyway, by the time we were done, we had all pretty much pegged that it was Kristen who shot JR.
Impressive.
Yes, and yes, with Miami Vice, holy shoulder pads, Batman. Yes. Who knew that men that weren't playing football could look so good in shoulder pads? So
Exactly. Well,
Dallas
it really
knew.
does narrow the waist, I got to tell you.
Whatever works.
Indeed, indeed. All right, my number 2 was Saint Elsewhere, which was hospital
Nice
drama. This was I can't remember the names of the dudes at this one. Crap.
Howie Mandel.
No, I was just saying that this one was produced by, I'm trying to remember. It's the same guys that did Josh Falsey and John Brandon Falsey. It was one of their vehicles. One of the first really gritty hospital dramas. This is the one that opened the door for shows like Chicago Hope and ER and what's the one that's been on for a million years now?
Oh,
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's
Grey's
Anatomy.
Anatomy. So yeah, this was one of those shows that was so excellent. And again, I was not watching St. Elsewhere when it was on, but this was when my mom never missed this show ever. She was a religious watcher of this show. And I started catching it when I was in college. It was one of those shows that was on in the afternoon. I'd watch it after, it would be on like at lunchtime or early afternoon. And I would, come sit down and watch it after I finished my classes or when I was having lunch or whatever, and just really got hooked on it. Just like, what an amazing show. So yes, many awards. This is one of those shows that picked up right where Hill Street Blues left off as far as gathering Emmy nominations, and probably literally over and over. It was not a watch show. That was a show that was constantly fighting cancellation, and in doing so managed to I'm going to put my banners back up there. In doing so, managed to gather viewers throughout the years. We also had a lot of really that show launched a lot of careers. Howie Mandel, Denzel Washington.
Wow, that's right.
Ed Begley Jr. was on that show. David Morris was on that show. So, like I said, Mark Harmon was on that show. He got pretty much launched from that show as well. So, again, one of those shows that was not necessarily well viewed. It was not a top 10 show, but it was always at the top of the list as far as critically acclaimed, winning Emmys, that sort of thing. So, St. Elsewhere.
Good
and then
show.
my last one, oops, my last banner disappeared, so I have to put it back up there. I accidentally deleted it because I do that sometimes. So we'll get our number 1 here, adding that banner. And I, like you, Jim, went right there with Hill Street Blues. So that was my number 1. Again, for those same reasons, it was just a great show. You couldn't stop watching it.
Agreed.
I got hooked. I can still remember stumbling across the pilot episode when I was eating my lunch one day. And it was that very first episode with the old guy talking to his crew and getting them ready for the day. They're having their roll call. And it was just the funniest thing is that they were being told that this rough and tumble bunch of cops, and they're being told that they can't have, they're being reprimanded for all of the extra weapons that they're carrying on them, these unusual weapons, and they have to, and so the sergeant's like, right now, everybody get your weapons out on the table. We're doing inspection right now. And so they just start pulling out this myriad of these terrible weapons, nunchucks and little guns here and there, little knives and brass knuckles, and they put them all out there. And then he just continues on and then sends them all off, and everybody just puts them right back in their pockets and off they go, Like, oh, I'm going to like this show. So, and it was just one of those shows where it made a big impact on television, and that's for sure. So anyway, that's my Mount Rushmore. Again, Hill Street Blues, St. Elsewhere, Dallas, and Miami Vice. So there you go. All right. Anne, are you ready for yours?
I'm ready.
All right. So, Anne, we're going to pop yours back on the big stage here. All right. Hang on, I got to get rid of my soon. All right, you ready so your number? And so this is in no particular order for Ann Brothers.
No particular order. So the first one I'd like to mention is Remington Steele, and this was strictly for personal reasons. This was an important show for me when I was young because I got to see a female private investigator. And, during the 70s, there was tons of private investigator shows. We even had Magnum PI. I mean, it's a very popular genre to this day. And it was the first time I ever saw a woman as the lead private investigator. And that was just really important to me. I never missed this show. I loved this show. So this was a personal pick for me. I know it's not, it wasn't award winning. It wasn't, top 10 or anything, but I personally loved the show. And of course, it introduced us to Pierce Brosnan. So, it did launch his career. So that was my, I guess my fourth place. But like I said, I have no particular order with these. It was just of the other three, I have more, I think they made more of an impact culturally. But for this one, it was strictly a personal reason why I loved the show so much. So my next one is for my next position, I have Miami Vice. I believe that was my next one, was Miami Vice. And I picked this one because it was super sexy. I remember watching this when I was babysitting because my mom did not approve of the show. And I, being in high school already, I was watching this one. So I loved this show. It was sexy. It was gritty. And I think a lot of shows owe their existence to Miami Vice. I think things like Oz, which was an HBO series, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, this introduced us to the anti-heroes. And even though, Crockett and Tubbs were technically heroes, they were still very human. Everybody in the cast had heroic things, but they were also very human and prone to sin. So that was something I thought was very interesting. And it's something that's carried through to this day. Again, the soundtrack, I mean, it's still, and that was the thing for the 80s, especially in movies, was a soundtrack. And this was the first show that actually brought it to TV. So people were actually listening to the soundtrack. And a lot of people got introduced to the show through the soundtrack. So it was groundbreaking for its time, and it opened the doors to a lot of the things that we enjoy today, especially things like when I forgot to mention The Wire. That's another one. Hill Street Blues also, it's funny because in, I want to say season 2 or 3 of The Wire, they do that scene where they have somebody, lecturing all the cops, before they all go out on their beat, lecturing the cops about their behavior, so that's become an actual, you see that in cop shows over and over again. It was Hill Street Blues that introduced us, but again, Miami Vice carried that into the next, the next iteration, so that we would be seeing more anti-heroes. I think this was the first time we were really seeing anti-heroes in a drama, and that brought us a lot more in the future. A lot of shows that we enjoy right now are. They're, of course, in the wicker shoes, men, being manly, super sexy men wearing pastels and wicker shoes. Yeah.
And no socks.
No
socks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, how'd they get all that money from speedboats and sports cars?
It made you wonder a little bit what they were doing for their side hustles,
Made me wonder. So my next one in my Mount Rushmore is Star Trek: The Next Generation. Now, this came out extremely late in 1989. And I started watching it when it hit syndication, but it was in syndication while it was still producing new episodes. And it opened up Star Trek again to a whole new group of people. I always loved the original Star Trek. I watched it after Creature Feature every Saturday when I was growing up. Loved that show, especially for Lieutenant Uhura. I watched it specifically for her. But then this opened it up, and Duncan and I would stay up late every night and watch episodes out of the Detroit station. And so did all of our friends. Talk about a show that we would all get together and watch when new episodes came out. And it brought back all kinds of movies. It launched several different other series. It's still launching series now. All these cool people that ended up making cameos on the show, like Whoopi Goldberg, because she watched the original show. So I'm like, this thing, if nothing, God, it made, okay, so I'm going to do a compare and contrast between this one and my next one. This one gave us a future, what the future could be, a future of all of us working together for space travel and this really cultural cast, and, the sky, the universes were the limits. You know, it's just so amazing. And then it just opened up all this other stuff. So I think even though it happened very late in 1980s and probably influenced way more into the 90s, I had to put this on my Mount Rushmore because it opened up things to come, is what it did, and it still does. I think we still have dramas about space and space travel because of Next Generation. So thanks, guys.
Agreed.
Okay.
I used to
So-
watch that with
Agreed.
Joe.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I used to watch that with Joe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Joe's
Yeah.
read all of, like, the Next Generation books, and
Mhm.
yeah, I would agree that this show. Yeah, I'm like, I probably should have put that on mine too, but I didn't. Yeah, it was a really good show,
Really good
and
show.
as much as I like the original, this one was so much better in terms of its writing, its production, its
Bigger budget.
how it bigger budget. Well, and just how they wrote, like, Captain Kirk and Captain Picard are very different.
Mhm.
Totally.
Yeah. And that was part of the reason I liked it, because I really loved Captain Picard. I just thought he was a
Mhm.
great dude. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the writing was fantastic. You could tell they have a much, it's like that's what they really wanted to do with the first Star Trek, but they never had the budget or the commitment from their studio to really make it what it could be. And the Next Generation did. They took everything and they ran with it. So I think that's yeah. So I had to put that on my Mount Rushmore. And then my last one is the Dukes of Hazzards, which is the polar opposite of Star Trek The Next Generation. This is all about nostalgia and what we will tolerate for nostalgia. And this show okay, so this shows why we got Sons of Anarchy, I think. But anyway, I'm not going to digress that much. But this show was extremely popular at the time that it came out. I probably didn't win any awards because it was terrible. But man, everybody stopped what they were doing on Friday nights, for God's
Yep.
sake. You should be out doing fun stuff. Instead, you're watching hillbillies drive a car with a Confederate flag on it, for
Oh my
God's
God.
sake. Jenny and I used to, with our other neighborhood kids that all had bicycles, we would play Dukes of Hazzard. This show had so much impact on the time. It was damn nostalgia. Star Trek The Next Generation was all about looking forward, and Dukes of Hazzards was all about looking back.
Very cool.
It's a very American thing. Dukes of Hazzard, like, you may not agree with me that this should be a Mount Rushmore, but this is a very American thing, like Mount Rushmore. So, like it or not, it's kind of like the Cosby Show. Like it or not, people, we loved it.
Part of what we did.
Yep.
Part of what we did.
Make a
Yeah.
statue of it, and then you can protest it later. But I'm arguing for. I'm not. It wasn't brilliant. It was stupid. Oh, and of course, if nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, we all know what Daisy Duke shorts are.
It had its
Iconic
impact.
fashions.
Yeah,
It had
people are
its
still
impact.
wearing
Call them that. Yeah.
Yeah, they still
Yeah.
wearing their Daisy Dukes. So
I
we all know
mean,
what that is.
We would like to pretend that we can forget that show, but in the time,
No
we could
way.
time and place. Man, it had as much impact, I think, as Dallas of Time and Place, as a lot of other shows. It was, my mom wouldn't let us stay up and watch, St. Elsewhere, but damn, do we watch every episode of Dukes of Hazzard? With my
Well, and our grandpa loved it. So if we were
Mhm.
spending the night at Grandma and Grandpa's for the weekend, man, we knew there was gonna be popcorn, there was gonna be Knight Rider, there's gonna be A-Team, there was gonna be Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh yeah. That's a
He
weekend
loved-
right there.
He loved all of those shows.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my Mount Rushmore.
Nicely done.
Mhm.
Now we do have a pretty Ann and I came up with some also rans, so we have some runners up for Ann. Why don't you run us through your runners up real quick?
I had Falcon Crest because it fell in with those other, TV late night soap operas. Moonlighting, that was on my That was a very good show. A-Team, of course, man. It was A-Team was a northern, a California version of Dukes of Hazzard. Knight Rider, and of course, if you were in Germany, this would be on the Mount Rushmore. They love David Hasselhoff in Germany. Chips, Jenny Brothers. How could we forget Chips?
Forgot about Chips. What?
I know. Another cop
Arch and
drama,
John, baby.
Yep.
Oh my
Chips.
God.
Uh,
Cops on motorcycles. Yes.
Cops on
with the-
motorcycles, exactly. Simon and Simon. This was another personal favorite of mine. I loved these two guys. I
That's
don't
a
know
good one.
why, just but another detective show. TJ Hooker. Here we are talking about, here's the 80s, we have the late 80s, we have Next Generation, and what's his name? Still making a living, cop drama, TJ Hooker, and of course the Fall Guy, hey, Lee Majors, still working, good for him. Just
Bionic
made a
Man,
movie out
heck
of
yeah.
it, so not none of these are brilliant. I think none of these were brilliant shows, but you could argue that they had their impact, and that they they could have, on some people's Mount Rushmore, they probably made it. So
Not seeing
Dude.
Baywatch up there.
I thought Baywatch was more 90s.
I thought that was a 90s.
I think it was 80s, wasn't it? Late 80s.
I don't know.
Wait, hang on. Now I got Baywatch.
Yeah, it
Let's
probably
find
started
out.
in the late 80s, but I remember Pamela Anderson being a big thing in the 90s.
Yeah, first episode was April 23rd, 1989. So you could have included that on there.
Yeah.
Could have
Absolutely.
been.
So,
Hey.
So it was more 90s.
all right. So, but we didn't specify that it had to run in the 80s. We just said it had to be in the 80s. So technically
Yeah.
that's in the 80s. So I'm just going to throw that on Tammy's runners up list for sure. Indeed. So yeah, for me, Magnum, Star Trek, Quantum Leap, which was again one of those late
Mhm.
80s ones that actually was super clever. It was just a super
Yeah.
clever idea for a show. Remington Steele, for very similar reasons to what my sister had. I just really liked it. I just thought it was a cool show. It was kind of
Mhm.
forbidden fruit because it was on later on a Friday. Murder, She Wrote. I thought long and hard about that one because that was a big deal for my grandmother. And that was a really great show because it offered something to the older crew. Again, it's a woman who's kind of running the show. This
She's
is her
great.
deal. She was fantastic. And I really think that, again, it was great to see. It's nice that my grandmother could have somebody to watch and admire because she was a mystery lover anyway. She never missed She Wrote Murder because that's what she called it. She never quite got the name right. She Wrote Murder.
Mhm.
Cagney and Lacey, Love Boat, Fantasy Island, 21 Jump Street, and MacGyver. Because
Oh, yeah.
who hasn't MacGyvered something in their
Exactly.
life? So
Yes.
You've got to love it.
totally.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's a verb now. An action. It's an
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I MacGyvered
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
I'm
So-
glad Cagney and Lacey made the list because I thought that too. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
good
used to love
show.
Cagney and Lacey.
Very good show.
Yeah.
Good show, and again, always nice to see, especially in the '80s, a couple of female leads kind of again running the show, which
Yeah.
is which was tough to come by
Mhm.
in that time
Mhm.
period. So yeah.
Yeah.
Any other ones that you guys think should be on there?
I think you guys
I
nailed
think
it.
you nailed it. Yeah.
We have talked about everyone that ran across my
Yeah.
list.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
We talked about
Sweet.
Star Trek a lot today. Jim's like, you should put that on the list. You used to watch it all the time.
Oh, she had a thing for Picard.
Oh yeah.
heck
Don't,
yeah.
don't let her
I was
tell you
like-
otherwise.
I was like, we all had a crush on a middle-aged bald man. What the fuck?
He was so powerful in his
Mhm.
accent. I mean, come on now.
Oh boy.
It was
No,
just
it's-
there was something
Wow.
about his gravitas and his
Mhm.
maturity and that fact
Yeah.
that you're like, yeah.
I mean, honestly, if he'd worn my dad's cologne, I would have been all over him. So
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, and that's a whole nother episode all by itself. Don't go there.
it is exactly right.
Oh, wow.
Old Spice for everybody. There we go.
Exactly.
All right. Well, hey, we are getting on towards the hour here, so let's take a minute and let's give a humongous round of applause for our Gen experts, Jim and Tammy Peters.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Love it when you come on the
Love you
show.
guys.
Thank
Merry
you so
Christmas,
much.
and thanks for having us
what-
again.
We have to ask you what should our next Mount Rushmore be? So
Yeah.
Oh,
so consider it. Think about it.
Mhm.
So right now I have Marla the cat with me as well. She's bumping me because it's time for her dinner. I know,
Aw.
Princess Kitten. I know. So think about it. We'll figure out what our next Mount Rushmore will be, should be, could be.
Yeah.
Well done, people of the world. You've done it. You've spent another hour learning things about stuff. Today, you learned what we thought about 80s dramas and which ones belonged on the Mount Rushmore of 80s dramas. We
Mhm.
gave you some good ones. If you disagree or if you agree more, then by all means, hit us up on our polls, answer our questions, comment, all that sort of stuff. Give us your questions, concerns, comments, and
Confessions.
confessions.
Mhm.
That's right. That's right. Confess that you two watched Knots Landing. That's right.
And
It's okay.
And proud
Hazard.
of it.
I'm proud of it. Let us know that you are a proud and loud watcher of the Dukes of Hazzard. It's okay. It's okay. We love those guilty pleasure things. Yeah, we all
No, it was
did. So
definitely a
The A-team.
pleasure.
When a plan
Yes.
comes together.
love it when a plan comes together. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well done. Remember, you can support us for free. All you got to do is like us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Sharing is caring. Tell your people to, hit that like button.
Mhm.
We'd appreciate
in
it.
there.
That way we can quit our day jobs, which is what we really want. So there you go.
There you
You guys, please join us next week when the brother sisters talk about winter activities, both cozy and not so cozy. So there you go. Let's play that outro music. Until then, I'm Janice Brothers. With me is my sister.
And brothers.
And with us are our Gen experts, Jim and Tammy Peters. Right now, you guys, we want you to get out there, do something smart, do something dumb, do something fun. We're out of here.
We go.
go. We go.
Bye.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good one. Oh.